Whether two separate electrical services, each with its own meter and disconnect, can remain when combining two tenant spaces depends on the local electrical code and the specific installation circumstances. Generally, having two separate electrical services for a single space is not permitted. This is due to potential safety hazards and difficulties in isolating the electrical system for maintenance or repairs. Multiple services can create confusion during emergencies and complicate troubleshooting. Having multiple meters would lead to having multiple bills. Maintaining clear documentation and labeling becomes more challenging with multiple services. Isolating the electrical system for maintenance and repairs becomes more difficult and potentially dangerous. However, exceptions to this rule may exist. For example, if the two spaces are used for significantly different purposes, like one for commercial and the other for residential, separate services might be considered. The key is clear identification and separation of the two services. Each service needs a dedicated panel and clearly labeled circuits. Proper overcurrent protection is essential for each service. All work must comply with the National Electrical Code, or NEC, and local amendments. The NEC addresses service entrances in Article 230. It outlines requirements for service conductors, overcurrent protection, and disconnecting means. Local codes may have additional requirements or restrictions. Always verify with the local authority having jurisdiction, or UJ, for specific interpretations and requirements. Before any work begins, obtain the necessary permits from the local electrical inspector. The permit process ensures that the installation meets safety standards and code requirements. A qualified electrician is crucial for evaluating the existing services and determining the best course of action. They can assess the load requirements of the combined space and ensure that the existing services are adequate or if upgrades are necessary. They can also perform the work safely and in compliance with all applicable codes. Combining two services into one is often the preferred approach. This simplifies the electrical system and reduces the potential for confusion and safety hazards. A single service entrance provides a clear point of control for the entire space. It also simplifies billing and maintenance. To combine the services, one of the existing service entrances will need to be disconnected and removed. The remaining service entrance will then need to be upgraded to handle the combined load of the two spaces. This may involve replacing the service panel, upgrading the service conductors, and installing additional circuits. Conduct a load calculation to determine the total load requirements of the combined space. This calculation will ensure that the existing service is adequately sized or if an upgrade is needed. The load calculation should include all connected loads such as lighting, receptacles, HVAC equipment, and appliances. The NEC provides guidelines for load calculations in Article 220. When combining electrical services, proper grounding and bonding are critical for safety. Grounding ensures that the electrical system has a low impedance path to ground, which helps to protect against electrical shock. Bonding ensures that all metallic parts of the electrical system are connected together, which also helps to reduce the risk of electrical shock. The NEC provides detailed requirements for grounding and bonding in Article 250. Surge protection is recommended to protect sensitive electronic equipment from voltage spikes. Surge protective devices, or SPDs, can be installed at the service entrance and at individual branch circuits. The NEC addresses surge protection in Article 242. Arc fault circuit interrupters, or SICE, are required for many branch circuits in residential and commercial buildings. SICE detect arc faults, which are a common cause of electrical fires, and automatically de-energize the circuit. The NEC requires a SICE for branch circuits that supply outlets in bedrooms, living rooms, and other areas. Ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are required in areas where there is a high risk of electrical shock, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. GFCIs detect ground faults, which can occur when electricity leaks to ground and automatically de-energize the circuit. The NEC requires GFCIs for receptacles located near water sources. Ensure all wiring and connections are properly sized and installed. Use the correct type of wire for the application and make sure all connections are tight and secure. Loose connections can cause overheating and electrical fires. Consult NEC Table 310.15 for proper wire sizing based on ampacity and temperature ratings. Label all circuits clearly and accurately. This will make it easier to identify and troubleshoot problems in the future. Use a circuit directory to document the location and function of each circuit. Provide adequate access to all electrical panels and equipment. Ensure that there is sufficient working space around the equipment to allow for safe operation and maintenance. The NEC specifies working space requirements in Article 110.26. Consider energy efficiency when combining electrical services. Use energy-efficient lighting, appliances, and equipment to reduce energy consumption and save money. LED lighting is a good option for reducing energy consumption. Install occupancy sensors to automatically turn off lights when a room is unoccupied. Consider using a smart thermostat to control the temperature in the space. Ensure the electrical system meets all applicable accessibility requirements. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, requires that electrical equipment be accessible to people with disabilities. Ensure that the electrical panels and equipment are located at a height that is accessible to people in wheelchairs. Provide clear and accessible signage to identify the location of electrical equipment. Consider future expansion when combining electrical services. Plan for future growth and ensure that the electrical system has sufficient capacity to handle additional loads. Install spare conduits and wiring to accommodate future circuits. Consider using a modular service panel that can be easily expanded as needed. Regularly inspect the electrical system to identify and correct any potential problems. Check for loose connections, damaged wiring, and other hazards. Have a qualified electrician perform a thorough inspection of the electrical system at least once a year. Keep accurate records of all electrical work. This will make it easier to troubleshoot problems and perform maintenance in the future. Maintain a record of all permits, inspections, and repairs. Document any changes to the electrical system, such as the addition of new circuits or equipment. Consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to determine the specific requirements for the situation. They can assess the existing services, evaluate the load requirements of the combined space, and ensure that the work is performed safely and in compliance with all applicable codes. Combining tenant spaces and their electrical services requires careful planning and execution. It's essential to prioritize safety, code compliance, and the long-term needs of the occupants. By following these guidelines and consulting with qualified professionals, a safe and reliable electrical system can be achieved. Firstly, assess the existing electrical infrastructure in both tenant spaces, including the service panels, wiring, and grounding systems. Secondly, determine the total electrical load requirements for the combined space, considering lighting, appliances, equipment, and any future expansion needs. Thirdly, consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer to develop a plan for combining or modifying the electrical services to meet the new load requirements and comply with local codes and regulations. Fourthly, obtain the necessary permits from the local authorities before starting any electrical work. Fifthly, disconnect and remove any unnecessary or redundant electrical equipment such as meters, panels, and wiring, ensuring proper safety procedures are followed. Sixthly, consolidate the electrical services into a single service panel or upgrade the existing panel to accommodate the combined load. Seventhly, install new wiring, circuits, and overcurrent protection devices as needed to distribute power to the various areas of the combined space. Eighthly, ensure proper grounding and bonding of all electrical equipment and systems to minimize the risk of electrical shock and ensure safety. Ninthly, label all circuits and electrical panels clearly and accurately to facilitate future maintenance and troubleshooting. Tenthly, inspect and test the completed electrical system to verify that it meets all safety and code requirements. In the scenario presented, where an owner wants to combine two tenant spaces, each having its own meter, disconnect, and main panel located outside the building, it is generally advisable to consolidate the electrical services into a single service for the combined space. The reasons are: firstly, safety concerns, as multiple services can create confusion and potential hazards during maintenance or emergencies. Secondly, code compliance, because local electrical codes often require a single service for a single occupancy or building. Thirdly, efficiency and cost effectiveness, as having one service can simplify billing and reduce energy costs. Fourthly, simplifies maintenance, as one service is easier to maintain than two or more. Consider that the specific requirements for combining electrical services may vary depending on the local electrical code and the requirements of the utility company. It is important to consult with a qualified electrician and the local utility company to determine the best approach for a specific situation. The electrician can assess the existing electrical infrastructure, perform load calculations, and develop a plan for combining the electrical services in a safe and code-compliant manner. If combining the services is not feasible or practical, it may be possible to maintain separate services for each tenant space, provided that certain conditions are met. These conditions may include: firstly, clearly identifying and labeling each service to avoid confusion. Secondly, ensuring that each service is properly grounded and protected by overcurrent devices. Thirdly, providing separate metering for each tenant space. Fourthly, complying with all applicable codes and regulations. If separate services are maintained, it is important to ensure that each tenant space is responsible for its own electrical consumption and that there is no cross-metering or sharing of electrical services between the spaces. The electrical system should be designed and installed in such a way that each tenant space can be independently disconnected from the electrical supply without affecting the other tenant space. The electrician should also provide documentation to the owner outlining the electrical system configuration and the responsibilities of each tenant space. In summary, combining tenant spaces and their electrical services requires careful planning, coordination, and compliance with local codes and regulations. It is best to consult with qualified professionals to ensure that the work is performed safely and in accordance with all applicable requirements. A well-designed and properly installed electrical system will provide reliable and safe power to the combined space while minimizing the risk of electrical hazards. When dealing with electrical installations, safety should always be the top priority. Electricity can be dangerous, and improper installation or maintenance can lead to electrical shock, fire, or other serious injuries. Always follow proper safety procedures and use appropriate personal protective equipment when working with electricity. If you are not qualified to perform electrical work, hire a licensed electrician to do the job.